Hello and welcome to the Maple Grove City Report. I'm Dave Kaiser from Northwest Community Television. In the next half hour, a look at what's new in the city of Maple Grove and a recap of the last council meeting. All next on the Maple Grove City Report. And hello and welcome to the Maple Grove City Report. I'm Dave Kaiser along with Al Madsen, City Administrator. Al, welcome to the program again.
Thank you, Dave.
Time for an update of what's new in Maple Grove. We've got a recap of a council meeting, and also we've got talk about lakes. We've got roads, we've got houses, and a little bit of everything else. Let's start with houses. How's construction going so far in this strange end of winter, start of spring we're having?
It has been, hasn't it? It's been pretty good. We're at 51 single-family building permits right now compared to 42. But it's going to start kicking up, there's no doubt. Starting next month, you're going to see a lot of things. Some slowdown may be attributed to the code changes,
right?
Because there's really been some quite restrictive codes, National Building Code and State Building Code that have been put in place that will make it more expensive for people to build a house. And obviously the developer isn't going to pass those costs, eat those costs.
Right.
They're going to pass them on to the buyer of the house.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a number of things. Some of them have to do with energy, making the houses more energy efficient. Have to be careful because you can also make your house too tight.
Right.
And so need to be very careful about that.
And I've heard sprinkler systems as well. Another one of the points that some things have changed a little bit that might be necessary in different size houses.
If 4,500 square feet or larger,
okay.
Yes, then you have to put in a sprinkler system. So. Okay. 610, starting April 15, we're going to see a lot of activity beginning on that 2-mile link there. A lot of activity. 494, mid-April, we're going to start seeing a lot of work on 494 between Maple Grove and Plymouth. Now that's going to be a real fun trip as we get further down the season. And so I just ask everybody to exercise patience and caution because there is going to be a lot of construction work. Local company, C.S. McCrossin, got the bid for that.
Okay.
So we're very happy with that. But it's going to be a real traffic situation, so people just going to have to be on alert.
Looks like a lane shift is coming that will be part of that fun. And you mentioned 610, and I have heard that possibly around the Fernbrook area is where things might start happening first.
That's correct.
And you might see some delays there. Or will there be detours in that area as well?
Well, we're not anticipating any detours, but there will be typical, traffic delays. So.
So those kids going to high school might have a little extra, they might have to leave a little earlier or wake up earlier, right?
Either that or they'll claim that as a good excuse
that
as
would
to
work
why they're
too.
late.
So, it was that Al Madsen guy's fault, right?
That's got to be it, right, yes. Street sweeping, we're going to start our street sweeping program. One of the common questions I get asked is how many street sweepers does the city have? And that's easy, one.
Okay.
We rent because street sweepers are very costly, number one to buy, but number two to maintain, very expensive to maintain. So we have one and that serves us well, and then we contract with actually a Maple Grove company to use their street sweepers. So.
And the reason behind that sweeping, the obviously, it looks better when it's done.
Well, it looks better.
You want to get that stuff out of the way, right?
Yeah, and it looks better, and you want to get all that debris off, not only off the streets for appearance, but also keep it from going down into the storm sewer system. And there's people see these drainage basins that are scattered all along the streets, and you don't want those things to get clogged up either. So. We do take pride in making sure that our streets are well swept.
And maybe another point, usually we talk about this in the fall, but probably appropriate here too, if the snow is gone and you're seeing some leaves left on your lawn, the key there is to not take those into the street, right? Would be the word to residents.
Right, that's correct. There have been some folks that have told me over the years, now Roseville's got a kind of nice policy, you can rake all your leaves out into the street, and then Roseville comes by and picks up all the leads,
okay.
which is nice.
Right.
But it's also very expensive. It's a big ticket item for the Roseville's budget. So, a few other things. Starting July 1st, 81st is going to be renamed to Central Parkway, and that's over by our now developing Central Park. So we'll see a name change there. Rice Lake Drawdown, that's another question that's been popping up, and I know that you folks had it on your show. That is, we're closing the gates this week, and so people will see what happened to all the water, and has the drought really been that bad? And about every, I don't know, 4 or 5, maybe 6, 7 years, we do a drawdown. Number one, it eradicates the lousy species in there called carp. The other thing, it helps with weed control, also cleaning up the shoreline. It's amazing what you find after the water level drops.
Sure.
We find a number of bicycles that obviously are
Right.
stolen, and someone just throws them into the lake. And then shoreline erosion. We're doing quite a bit of shoreline erosion system as well. So the drawdown, it does look strange, but it does have a good solid purpose for doing it. And so then we'll open the gates, back up, I should say, and eventually it'll flood back in again.
So when you say the gate, to let people know, there is a gate or a dam, if you will, at the outlet of the lake. So it's not as if there's not as much water in the lake that's not been coming in. You've been letting it out the opposite side.
That's correct.
Okay.
Absolutely. That's a good point. That's a very good point. Yes.
So it's going somewhere else right now. Someone else has got plenty of water at this point.
Right. It's going somewhere.
Soon they will be shut off.
Yep. Farmers Market, March 19th will be our final indoor market, and then in June we'll be starting the outdoor market. We will have a Planning Commission opening coming up. Planning Commission is comprised of 7 members. Right now we have 5, so there's 2 openings. John McLaughlin, who has been a very, very good planning commissioner for us, just not only a great guy, but he does his homework and very, very thoughtful, and has just been a wonderful planning commission member. He is going to be leaving and relocating to Florida. He said him and his wife have probably taken about as much as Minnesota winter as they can handle.
Sure.
So that gives us 3 openings, but we're only going to fill 1 at this particular time because development activities have been fairly slow, and we've been going with a 5-member planning commission now for probably 2 years, and so we'll fill 1 of those 3 positions, and so we'll put an announcement in a paper, and it'll be on our website, and we'll get the word out so individuals that can apply. We're probably not going to accept applications until May. John and his wife will be around until June, and so probably not till May.
Qualifications for that and time commitment for that type of a position?
Well, qualifications, you need to be a Maple Grove resident, obviously. Time commitment, that can vary depending on the level of development activity. You are committed to at least 2 meetings a month.
Right.
Sometimes there have been meetings that have been canceled because there just hasn't been enough to have on the agenda.
Sure.
But typically 2 meetings a month.
Okay, very good.
The markets at Rush Creek, this is a project that we have talked about in the past a number of times. This is land that's out at 101 and Bass Lake Road.
Right.
It now is under new ownership, and appears that there's now some life being brought back to the markets at Rush Creek. It'd be a combination of residential in there as well as some commercial. They're going to do the residential first. Commercial was anticipated to be about 200,000 square feet of like grocery store and other types of commercial. They now have tapered that back to about 100,000 square feet, but some new life is coming forth in that particular project. So we're hoping that maybe sometime this summer we'll start to see some an application and some real sound activity.
Okay. Is the grocery store still a thought in that area or not with the smaller size?
Grocery store is still a mix in there. It's not the same grocery store, but I think the developers still would like to bring in a grocery store. Yes.
Which would be needed out in that area.
It certainly would.
They have to drive a little ways from that corner of the city to
Absolutely
get
right.
to something.
Absolutely right. Let me see, what else do I have here? The yard waste opens April 1st.
Okay.
I was told yesterday that there are days during the peak of the season when there's between 16 and 1,800 cars a day.
Oh my
That
goodness.
are going to the yard waste, and I'm thinking, 1,800 cars a day, that just boggles the mind. So it's, yeah, but it's very, very active out there.
So for people that might be new to the city or maybe have never been there before, where is it and what is it? How do you use it for those that might be new to town?
Well, be sure to bring your driver's license.
Okay, that's a good start.
And it's located just down from the Maple Grove Senior High. So if you're going on Fernbrook and you're going past the Maple Grove Senior High, you'll take, I think it's 101st.
Okay.
You'll take a left on 101st, and it's just
So a little
down
bit to
way.
the west of the high school.
Correct, correct. But it's very, very well used. It's amazing how much
So bring
traffic.
your license because you have to prove you're a resident, and
Right.
it's not just Maple Grove residents,
No.
but there are some other cities here in the Northwest
Right.
area
There's
that can
7
use that
other
facility.
cities that can use it as well, but
And cost-wise, if I am a resident of Maple
Nothing.
Grove, nothing.
no,
Perfect.
free.
Like
Just
the sounds of that.
if you want to bring, but there are limits as to the
Right,
size.
what can I bring?
Right. You know, if you want to bring in a huge tree stump, that they won't take that there.
Okay.
But leaves and grass, I mean, lots smaller twigs and things like that. But it's a busy, busy place. So.
Get more information on the Maple Grove website about
Yes,
that? Okay.
absolutely, absolutely right. Yep. Hobby Lobby, they have gotten their permit for a demolition at the inside of the former Rainbow building. Hobby Lobby is going to take about 85% of that building, and so we're happy with that. So they've got a demo permit to do some demo work on the inside.
Okay.
They have not yet picked up their official building permit for exterior work and the real, brunt of it that's
Right.
going to take place on the inside. But
And
we're
their
happy with
planned
that.
opening would be potentially when? Do they have a date?
No, they don't. That's a good question. I think that once they finish the demo work on the inside, get that cleaned up, then I think they'll probably have a better idea as to their schedule.
Sure.
So, but I have not yet seen a schedule. Want to give congratulations to Police Chief Warner. He was given the highest honor by the Minnesota Police Officers Association certification, and so we're very pleased
Yes,
with
congratulations to
Chief
him.
Priest Warner for that. So I think I mentioned on a previous show that we're keeping the dome up longer. Typically, well, in weather like this,
Right.
there just
Is there
hasn't
anybody in there?
right, but we are going to keep it up longer. We'll probably keep it up until maybe toward the end of April, something like that.
Okay.
So,
On that same thought, a question that I have heard is related to the parks in the city of Maple Grove. And obviously it got so warm and people thought, well, I'm going to run out and play in the park. Is there any restriction, or does the city encourage one way or another of people getting onto the ball fields or soccer fields here in the springtime? Or is, I suppose that's somewhat tough to control, but what does
Well-
the city prefer to help the fields be in good condition when we get a couple more months down the road?
well, we would prefer no activity on it because obviously it does tear up, the turf and things like that.
Right.
It's like, golf courses. You don't want your golfers to come out too early because, they'll really tear things up. We don't have any restrictions.
Okay.
But we would encourage people not to. I know people want to get out and start doing the recreational things, but they need to also keep in mind the conditions and things like that. So, any other condition might be, mom and dad not wanting the kid to come home filled with mud and stuff like that.
Probably a good idea.
But
So are you through that transition period? Have you taken all of the plows off the trucks, or are you still waiting before you turn them over into trucks that can work in the parks?
we're always a little cautious.
Yeah,
We're optimistic folks, but there's a little.
The plows
little
are
sense
still
of
on, is what you're
caution,
saying.
and yes, we do have plows on some of the trucks.
Okay.
So you just never know. I mean, this is Minnesota, and even
Right.
though it's March and we don't really have any snow left, we still have been known to get a lot of snow in
Oh, yeah.
April.
Can
And so
happen.
there's still time,
Okay.
and that's what my son keeps hoping for because he plows snow.
Aha, okay. Yeah.
Company
A
works.
tough winter
And
for
so
those
he's,
people.
He's hoping for more snow. Ice show, excuse me, at the Maple Grove Community Center, April 18. It'll be the 15th annual ice show, and there are 90 skaters that are going to be involved in that. So go to the city's website, learn more information about the ice show. So
And
it's
is this a
wonderful thing.
private club that does that, or is this something that comes out of the city and the community center?
It's a combination.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a combination of both.
So opportunities for people through the Park and Rec. If
Yes,
you wanted to do
very
it in
much.
the future, you can get out there and join a skating club.
Right, you bet. Also, go to our website and Park and Recreation, find out the schedule for our town green activities. We've already got, for 2015, we've got the schedule already laid out as to who's going to be coming to perform and who's not. So,
Any highlights that you got? Bob Dylan appearances. Our crew would
of
want to
course.
know.
Of course.
Or the Bob Dylan lookalikes.
The Bob Dylan, yes.
Okay.
The Bob Dylan will be there. Johnny Cash. I mean,
Very good.
they really pull in a lot. They really do.
Yeah,
So.
it's a great. So go to the city's
I was
website.
telling your crew earlier that there's an article in AARP about Bob Dylan. Because,
That's just what they
'cause
want to hear.
He's about my age. And so he's an AARP, but it was an interesting article about him. He's quite an interesting gentleman. And I know that your crew here is.
There's some guys back there. You'll hear music soon. No, maybe not.
It's true.
Let's talk about the council meeting.
Council meeting was relatively short. Was less than a half hour. Went very well. We did have an added item to the agenda, and that was to send Captain Dan Wills to the FBI Academy. Very, very good training. Current Captain Keith Trelinden has gone through it. Captain Adam Lindquist has gone through it, and now Captain Dan Wills will go through it. And it's about I'm thinking it's somewhere between 6 to 8 weeks long. It's long and very intensive, but I know that Captain Terlinden has told me in the past that it's absolutely just wonderful to be able to attend that. So.
And I'm sure they bring information back then that
Oh,
they can
yes.
share with the others on the force.
Very much. You bet they do. It was a nice council meeting because we had a room full of police officers, and we swore in a new police officer, Tyler Mullen. Is a former community service officer with us.
Okay.
And
up through the ranks.
Yeah, he's worked. And the thing is, we have a retirement. For example, if you have a retirement of a sergeant, then you draw from the police officers to fill that spot. Well, then that creates an opening, and so it's just a ripple effect. But Tyler Mullen was sworn in as our new police officer. We're very happy about that. We also had Sergeant John Wetterneck. John has been promoted to sergeant, and so Chief Werner introduced him to everybody, and so John is an excellent police officer, and he's going to do very, very well as a sergeant. So we have a wonderful, wonderful police department, tremendous team. So we did do approval of a concept plan for the Red Rock Business Center. That's on 81, where you see this very, very large industrial building under construction. They now are also going to start construction probably this fall on approximately 48,000 square foot industrial building. And so we took care of that. And then also we approved the development stage plan for the Sky Arbor Lakes, which is the multifamily apartment building that is occupied by residents, but also still is partially under construction. They're going to be adding 208 more units, and so things have been going very well.
Fantastic.
Silver Creek in Maine, which is our senior housing development, has been going on very, very well, and they're going to have a big grand opening in July, and kind of tied in with Maple Grove Days. So there's just so much activity happening in that area.
Right.
And then I guess just a couple of other minor things, or maybe not so minor, but we did approve a purchase agreement with Youngstead's for a car wash out in the area of where Menards is and Holiday Station out in that general area. As a freestanding piece of land that the city has owned for some time. And so we sold that to Youngstead's.
The car wash explosion continues in the
Yeah.
city of Maple Grove?
It does,
We
yes.
just have dirty cars apparently out in Maple Grove.
I guess so, and Paradise is open.
Right.
I've not been through it, but that is now open. So, and then we did set April 7th as the board of review, and then April 21 as the follow-up to the board of review. So, and what that's all about is if people are concerned about the value that's been placed on their property, they can come in and they can make their case to the city council that it should be lowered. Rarely does anybody want it pushed up.
Right.
Unless they're selling, and then hey, push it way up.
Sure.
But they can, make their case to the council, and then the information is all given to our assessing staff. They do all the necessary research. 2 weeks later, then they come back to the council, and then the council determines, is the value that our assessing staff has put on it, is that the correct value, or should it be raised, or should it be lowered?
Right.
So that's an annual process.
Are there any factors that are affecting that in the city of Maple Grove this year? I know recently we obviously had the downturn in the economy, and that dropped the values, and then now they've started to come back up. Is that trend still continuing, or what factors might people want to consider when they look at that sheet of paper?
Well, the trend is still continuing, and then what people have to also keep in mind, if they are concerned about their value, because sometimes they'll say, well, I know a friend, in a different part of town, and their value is such and such, and my value is such and such. Well, you got to take into consideration, are you doing an apple-to-apple comparison? So you got to take a look at the inside features, the exterior features. Everything has to be the same, and so that's when you get into looking at also comparable sales, because you'll have people even in the same neighborhood might say, well, I know that my neighbor's value is lower, and his taxes are lower, and why is mine higher? So, but it's quite a bit of research that goes into it.
Okay.
So very extensive.
If people have questions, obviously, again, they can certainly contact the city at any time
Yes,
too, and you
absolutely.
have staff there that can help out with some of the questions even before that meeting.
Oh, absolutely right. Just contact our assessing department, because if people do have concerns, it's best to try to deal with the concern before the April 7 Board of Review.
Right.
Because we're happy to sit down with them and go through everything. Sometimes they still want to come to the Board of Review, and that's fine.
Sure.
But we try to help educate everybody as best as we can.
Okay.
So.
Very good.
The other item was we set a public hearing for the next meeting for a liquor license on Cambria Suites. Cambria Suites has a liquor license now, but they're changing their ownership structure. And so it's just a formality that we have to go through, but we do have to have a public hearing. So that was it. Meeting went very smoothly, got over in less than a half hour. It was real nice to swear a new police officer and the introduction of our new sergeant. So it was a good meeting.
Very good. A couple questions while we have a few more minutes here. You talked a little bit about the Central Park area, the Sky area, and it's interesting now as I come up the freeway and turn on Hemlock going north, you don't see any more hills of gravel there, and I wonder how many other residents are starting to see that shift. But tell us about that progression. There's obviously still gravel, and there's going to be gravel there for a long time.
There
but
will
that
be.
one big pocket is gone.
Yeah, the one big pocket is gone. We still have Mount Maple Grove, which is there's a 40-acre vacant parcel at the corner of Elm Creek Boulevard and Hemlock. And so if you look to the east of that, there's still the large gravel mounds. But slowly, yes, you're seeing a transformation of that whole area. I've got pictures of the way it was before development started in that area, and I mean it's just mountain after mountain after mountain of sand and gravel. But it's changing rapidly, really is.
Incredible how that change is
Oh,
happening.
for sure.
Again, you drive into the town through that area and you just don't see what you used to.
That's right.
What do we have any idea of the number of people that now will be in that downtown area if all of those buildings, Silver Creek, Sky, fill up? How many more people is that in that downtown area? I'm sure the shop owners just have to be overjoyed about this.
Oh, clearly they love it. And we try to build a walkable community so people can live and work in the area, and they can live and shop in the area. I would say, our plan, the Grave-Mine area plan, calls for 5,000 housing units.
Okay.
And so if you take the Met Council's math of roughly three people per household, you're looking at 15,000 people. But whether or not we'll hit 5,000 housing units, and that's a long-term plan.
Right. So right now it would be maybe 500
Oh,
housing
no, I'd
units,
say,
or more than that, 1,000?
more than that, because when Sky wraps their project up, it'll be about 450.
Okay.
Silver Creek, when they finish theirs, will be about 380. You've got Bottineau Ridge, which is 50. You've got Arbor Lake Senior, which is, well, they're adding on another 48.
Right.
So you're knocking on the door of getting closer to 1,000 people, 1,000 units.
Okay, so some users for the new Central Park of Maple Grove will
Yes.
be right there next door.
Absolutely.
And
right.
certainly opportunities for the entire community to come into that area.
Oh, really?
Give
Very
us a
much.
little update there. Again, people are seeing things now come up out of the ground, and it looks like something is going to happen there. What is the time frame?
It does. I'm not certain exactly when we're going to have a official ribbon cutting. But yes, things are coming out of the ground and we're really starting to get a good feel of a park. And so it can be tremendous amenities. I mean, not just for the people that live around there, but just, you know, for everybody in Maple Grove. And there was an article that came out and talked about the economic value of amenities. Everybody always talks about, you know, what kind of a subsidy can I get? You know, tax increment financing, tax abatement, whatever the case. But they need to take a look at the other amenities that a community has, lakes, parks, trails. Central Park is certainly one of the very, very plus things. Quality housing, shopping, dining, lots of those experiences, and that's all part of an amenity, and to me, that's part of a subsidy for development. It's not a cash subsidy, but by golly, it sure does mean a lot to people that are going to move in that area and work there or shop there. And so it's great.
All right. Well, keep your eye on that area. A lot happening right
Sure
in that
is.
central part of town.
Yep.
Al, thank you again for your time.
Thanks, Dave.
Let's leave you with a few numbers and pieces of information. Al, many times during the program, mentioned things that you can find on the city's website. You see it right there in the middle of the screen, maplegrovemn.gov. Information about the assessing, other events that are coming up in the city, and also information about that opening on the Planning Commission. Next meeting is Monday, April 6th, 7:30 at the Government Center, 494-6000, the main number to the Government Center. And our viewer response line is 533-1710. Questions or comments about the program, give us a call. We'll address them on upcoming shows. For Al Madsen, I'm Dave Kaiser. Thanks for joining us on the Maple Grove City Report.